As I was preparing medicine for a patient, I was shocked to discover that every time my father took a female patient upstairs for a private consultation, strange sounds would come from the room. When they came downstairs, the female patients were all blushing, and my father, looking exhausted, would hand me the prescription and ask me to brew some medicinal tea for him. When I looked at the prescription, it was full of herbs for tonifying the kidneys. Since I was a curious child, I always wanted to know what was going on upstairs. But my father had set a strict rule. I wasn't allowed to step foot on the second floor before I turned 20. At 19, I couldn't wait any longer after seeing my father escort a female patient upstairs. I took the risk of being kicked out of the house and quietly followed him. I peeked through the crack of the door, but my sharp-eyed father caught me red-handed. He scolded me for breaking the rules and reiterated that the second floor was for consultations and needed to remain quiet. I had heard this lecture countless times, but this time I wasn't going to back down. I boldly asked my father what exactly was going on upstairs that was so shameful. To my surprise, my father, unable to explain, started to use the house rules to suppress me, saying firmly that I couldn't go upstairs until I was 20. I immediately questioned him, asking why the second floor only had female patients, whether he was really practicing medicine or doing something improper. My words completely shocked my father, and he nearly kicked me out of the house. But just as I was being sent downstairs, strange noises came from above. I remembered how my mother used to teach me to be righteous and care about the world, but now my father had turned into this. I couldn't help but feel sad. Seeing my distress, my father didn't comfort me, but instead came downstairs smelling like perfume, claiming it was the scent of medicinal herbs. But being sensitive to smells, since childhood, I knew the difference between herbs and perfume. When the two of us were arguing, a wealthy woman hurried downstairs to intervene, telling my father not to be too hard on me, since I was at that age when I was impulsive and irritable. She even suggested that I should take over his position soon. To my surprise, my father leaned in and whispered something in her ear, and the two of them looked so cozy I felt disgusted. To ensure I wouldn't disturb him again, my father took out my mother's will. It clearly stated that my mother had encouraged him to set up the private consultations on the second floor, and that the rule of only seeing female patients was also set by her. I never imagined my mother was so broad-minded, allowing my father to do whatever he wanted. But my father firmly stated that everything he did was for helping his patients, and that I had been overthinking things. Looking at him so confidently, I began to wonder, had I really misunderstood him? But the next day, my father handed me another prescription and asked me to prepare him more medicinal tea. After I brewed the tea, I cautiously asked my father how sitting down all day for consultations could deplete his kidneys. He immediately became flustered and told me that the kidneys are the source of life energy, and sitting around all day taking pulses naturally depletes kidney energy. Hearing this, a wave of guilt washed over me. I thought about how my father worked tirelessly day and night, even being woken up in the middle of the night by patients knocking on his door. How could I have doubted him like that? Lost in my thoughts, I dozed off at the table. Suddenly, I had a dream about my mother.